Welcome back to High Gain Guitar Academy. Neil here, and today we're going to learn how to play bar chords. So what is a bar chord? Well, a bar chord is when you take a finger, usually your pointer finger, and lay it across multiple strings to create new chords. So as you see, I can use my pointer, I can lay it across all the strings here. And then when I add in a few other combinations of fingers, we have chords. So these are bar chords, and you can move them anywhere around the neck. It's a lot like scales. Like once you learn your scales, you know, you can move that anywhere on the neck. So bar chords are going to be kind of the same thing. And that brings us to our next question. Why bar chords over open chords? Well, open chords are great, but they're limited to this lower part of the neck, but they're also limited to the available chords. So there's no C sharp open chord. The only way to do it is a bar chord. So that's kind of why bar chords are important. Not only do they offer variety in where you can play chords, but they give you access to play chords where you typically just wouldn't have them. I'm going to show you how to play the major and minor bar chords starting from the E string and starting from the A string. Now, why would we need to do that? Well, here's the answer. Most of your root notes for your chords reside within these two biggest strings. So if we learn how to play a bar chord starting from the E string, we're going to use the key of G, for example. And then I can learn one in the key of G on the A string. Not only does that give me two different tonalities, but now I'm using like the lower part of the neck and the middle higher part of the neck. And then I can go back to the E string and do the octave, right? And then same thing for the A string. Well, I don't have that many frets, but you get the idea. Bar chords allow you to play all over the neck and in every key. So let's get into it. The first shape we're going to learn is the major bar chord starting on the E string. So what we're going to do is take your pointer finger, place it on the 3rd fret. So your pointer finger is going to start on the big E, lay it down as flat as you can, all the way across all of the strings, okay? Now, how are we going to do that and get enough pressure equally distributed across all the strings? The answer is thumb on the back of the neck. You're basically going to make a guitar neck sandwich, okay? Your pointer finger is on the 3rd fret, and your thumb is going to go square in the middle of the neck to kind of press back against it, giving you a little more pressure. Now, why in the middle of the neck? Well, that's because we're trying to apply even pressure over all the strings. So if we do it kind of right in the middle, that's going to help us to keep, you know, all the strings held down at once. So let's give that a try. If you do the strings one at a time, you'll kind of be able to tell if there's any holes in your Swiss cheese. If any of the strings don't sound right, you know, take them one at a time, adjust as needed. If all that's sounding good, then we're going to move on to adding in the other fingers to create a major chord. So as I'm holding down all the strings on the 3rd fret with my pointer finger, I'm going to add in my middle finger onto the 4 of the G string, still holding my pointer on the 3. Now I'm going to add my pinky onto the 5 of the D and my ring finger onto the 5 of the A. Now your ring and pinky finger can be reversed if you like. If it's more comfortable to do ring on the D string and pinky on the A string, you totally can. But for the purposes of how I do it, I'm going to use my pinky on the D, ring on the A, just because that's how I've always done it. It can be difficult to hold the pointer down across all the strings and get these other fingers in there. So, because your pointer's going to want to move. It's going to have a hard time staying in that one spot, and it may start to angle and shift around. That's okay. As long as it's not on the fret wire, making weird buzzing sounds, it's okay. You can angle. There's plenty of room within these lower frets. So your finger can angle a bit or get closer to that fret wire. As long as it's not getting funny sounds, it's okay. That's going to be the final result, guys. If you pick the strings one at a time like we usually do, it should sound like a major chord. Now let's compare that to a G major open chord, just a regular G chord. Right, nice big G chord, but then here's the bar chord version. They sound really similar, but the bar chord tends to be a little bit more focused sounding because you're holding down all the strings, whereas the open string vibrates a little bit differently, doesn't it? But now that we know the major bar chord shape on the E string, like I said, we can move that anywhere. So let's move it up 2 frets to the 5th fret. Now we have an A major bar chord. Now we can move up 2 more. Let's do a B bar chord. 1 more and we got a C, and so on. So anywhere you move that shape on the E string, you have an E string major bar chord. So moving back to that 3rd fret where we originally started, here's how we do the minor bar chord shape on the E string. All you have to do is remove your middle finger. Okay, we just take one out. So that note now is going to be the barred fret, okay? You see now it's a sad G minor. Everybody's hands are a little different, right? Some people have smaller hands, shorter fingers. I have real long, skinny fingers. So for me, you know, barring all the strings isn't so difficult, but you have to kind of find what works for you. If your fingers or hands are a little smaller, you kind of just have to adjust until you find what works for you. I've seen people with all kinds of different hands play bar chords. You just have to find out what your comfort zone is, and once you identify that, do that consistently. Like once you find what works, keep doing that. So now we've learned the major bar chord shape on the E string and the minor where we just remove the middle finger. Okay, that was a lot, but let's move on. You can always pause the video to work on these, guys. Don't forget, it's a video. You can pause it, come back, and we'll resume, okay? Now let's move on to the A string bar chords. One of the cool things about this is you get a 2-for-1. The major bar chord shape on the E string, when you move that to the A string, it's the minor bar chord shape. So you get a 2-for-1. Same shape, 2 different sounds. And again, no matter where I move that shape, it's always going to be a minor bar chord on the A string. Now switching from the minor to the major shape on the A string is not quite as easy as going from the major to the minor on the E, where we just removed 1 finger. We have to actually add in a fret. So what we need to do is the B string at the 4th fret currently, we need that to go to the 5th fret. So how are we going to do that? We need to hold 5, 5, 5, D, G, B. So the best way to do that isn't just barring with your pointer. Sometimes it's barring with another finger, like let's say your ring finger or your pinky. Or use a combination of both. This is the most common way I see it done, so I'm going to show you this way first. Just hold down the 3 of the A with your pointer finger. We're going to use our ring finger on the 5 of the D, and our pinky is going to bar the 5 of the G and the B. So you're just going to lay that down. The pinky goes down on the 5 of the G and the B, and your ring finger goes kind of just in front of it, right? They're going to kind of share that space, goes right in front of it on the 5 of the D. So we're holding out 3 of the A, ring finger goes on 5 of the D, and then pinky is barring the 5 of the G and the B. So let's pick all 4 of those middle strings one at a time. Again, you kind of have to find what works for you. If there's a different combination of barring or fingers that works for you to play this chord, if it works, do it. Okay, everybody's a little bit different. One may work better for you physically, maybe one's easier for you to remember mentally. Whatever it is, as long as it sounds right and it's not painful, then do that. Notice when I play my major bar chords on the A string, I will often just use my pinky. And that's because I've spent, a long time building up the strength and control in my pinky finger to where I'm totally comfortable doing that. And it's really quick for me to access because I'm only using 1 finger instead of 2. As I get higher up the neck, I might use my ring finger because what happens to the frets? As we go up the neck, the frets get smaller, right? So to get the pinky in there is a little tight, so I might go to the ring finger if I'm playing bar chords higher up the neck. So there you go, guys. We have a major and minor bar chord shape starting from the E string, and then a major and minor bar chord shape starting from the A string. And we learned that the major shape on the E string is the same as the minor shape on the A string, so it's a 2-for-1 deal. So you really only had to learn 3 shapes. Not too bad, right? So the trick here is just learning how to play them consistently and clearly and be able to just jump to them quickly. And And also just knowing your keys, knowing your frets up and down the neck, mostly just on the E and the A string, so we know what key we're in, right? As long as you know your root note, then you can just add in the right color, you know, the right mood, major or minor or whatever it is. But as long as you know your root note, you're gonna know what key you're playing in. So that's gonna be important to identify, especially with bar chords, as it is with scales. Now, I think the last thing that I want to mention that's so useful about these bar chords, other than the fact that, you know, it gives you the option to play chords that don't exist in an open chord format, is that you now have access to play chords all over the neck. So if I'm playing a lead, I can play the bar chord right up there with it. And I don't have to move all the way back down to where the open chords are. So, you know, it gives you a lot of ease of use, a lot of practicality, and it's also a tonality thing. Like, let's say I'm playing a chord in a G down here. Let's just use the bar chord G on the 3rd fret of the E string. Right? Sounds like a G. But let's say I wanted it to have a little bit more of a, I don't know, fun, brighter sound. I could use that bar chord in the key of G on the A string, which is higher up the neck. So now it has more of like, almost like a ukulele sound. So the tonality is completely different too, but I'm still in key. There you have it, guys, bar chords. Now, like I said, there's obviously all kinds of other bar chord shapes, but these are just your major and minor, which you need the most to get started. And once you get these down, man, there's just so much you can do with them, guys. I mean, infinite amount of songs. So work on these. I know they're hard, but don't let that deter you from practicing, because if you really want to do this, then it's not going to seem like work at all, and I'm not going to have to chase you down to do it. You're just going to do it. So do it, and I'll see you next time.